Hey guys, Gary Lucas here. Today we're going to learn about classes, inheritance, and objects, and constructors, and all sorts of great things. So here I have a main class, which really only has this main function. Don't worry about this other stuff, public site void main. We're going to talk about this later. So we're also going to need a bicycle class. Now in this bicycle class, I've created three variables, all of them ints, cadence, speed, and gear. And I've created a couple methods, which we'll talk about in a second. But basically, I'm going to create a constructor. Now, what a constructor allows us to do is create objects of our class because it assigns attributes. And whenever we call that object, it creates like a copy of whatever this is that allows us to manipulate it and do some cool things. And we're going to be using constructors a lot in developing the games we're going to be making. Um, so I'm going to try to make sure this all makes sense. So to write a constructor, you're just going to type some kind of permission, followed by the name of the class, and then parentheses and curly braces. Now inside of the parentheses, you could write anything you want, and these are going to be the attributes that you assign to this constructor. So when you create an object, it'll ask you to assign values to those parameters. So in this case, we've created a new int called start cadence, an int called start speed, and an int called start gear. Um, and then what we do is we've assigned this int we've created before, cadence, to equal the same as start cadence. Now there's a reason why we're doing this, and I'll explain it in just a second. Then we assign speed to start speed and gear to start gear. So when we create an object of this class, it's going to ask us to assign a value to start cadence. And same with start speed and start gear. It's going to ask us to create a value for those to pass into the specific object we've created. But what I want to do is I want to be able to manipulate this information once we've already declared it. Okay? And so I'm going to create these methods. And by the way, this is we've gone over methods. And this is what you can use methods for. So in set cadence, I just assign a value to cadence, and then I say print out cadence. Okay, that's all I've done. So whenever I call set cadence, it's going to say cadence is equal to 4, and system.out.println cadence. And that's going to tell us cadence is equal to 4. So what this allows us to do is um, call this method within our object. And instead of giving us, it basically allows us to manipulate this value, the start cadence that we assigned, into cadence because we're saying, oh, cadence is this, and it's allowing us to manipulate it. Okay? So some kind of neat stuff. We can obviously get more complex, but let's see what I actually mean because it probably doesn't make any sense right now. So going back into our main, what we're going to do is we're going to create an object of our constructor, of our class. So to do that, you type your class name that you're creating an object of. In this case, we're using bicycle. Um, and then we have to assign a name to it. Now we could call this anything. In my case, because I'm going to keep it simple, I'm just going to call it bicycle with a lowercase. And then you say is equal to new bicycle. And then it's going to ask us for some parameters. Okay, so it's going to say parentheses, semicolon. But it's going to say that it doesn't like this. And the reason why is because we need to put the parameters of our constructor in. So it's going to ask us to put these in, right? Because we created this constructor, and we said it has 3 ints, and now it wants us to assign values to those ints. So if you hover over here, it'll even say add arguments to match bicycle int, int, int. Okay, or to change the constructor so it doesn't have those ints. Or to create another constructor. And yes, you can have multiple constructors. That's called overriding. So we could actually have another constructor called bicycle that is simply just this. Okay? Nothing. No parameters. And then it'll actually like this. We save. Oh, yeah. But we don't want that. Okay? And by default, this is the automatic constructor for every class. Um, so what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to actually assign values to these. So we're going to say start cadence. We're going to say is equal to 4. No, let's make it not 4 because we're changing everything to these numbers. So let's say it's like 8, 9, 10. Okay, so let's do that. Or let's do 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it likes that because we have this constructor for 3 ints. And so what we do is we create 3 ints. So start cadence, start speed, start gear. Okay, now I've also added in system.println, and it's going to ask us to get bicycle.cadence, bicycle.speed, and bicycle.gear. And this bicycle, by the way, is this bicycle. So what it's going to do is instead of, here, and let me comment these out too, just so you can see what I mean. So if we run this, save. It's going to do 1, 2, 3. The values that we put here. So let's change these just to show you. Let's do 7, 28, sure, and we'll do 9. Okay. Save changes. Yes. I don't know which. Oh, I must have accidentally exited. And then we're going to run it. So now 7, 28, 9. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So we're saying what is bicycles cadence? And if you remember back here in our constructor, we said cadence is equal to start cadence. So when we call this variable inside of bicycle, it's going to say, oh, it's this. What is bicycle's version of cadence? What is bicycle's version of speed? What is bicycle's version of gear? Make sense? Now we can also create a second object of this class and manipulate it similarly and get completely different results. Okay, let's do bicycle, bicycle2 equal to new bicycle, and then we'll do completely different numbers. Okay, so let's do 100, 70, 21. Okay, and then let's just copy this and put bicycle 2 in all of these places. Okay, now check this out. It's going to do bicycle and then bicycle 2. So bicycle cadence equals 7, yes. Bicycle speed equals 28, yes. Bicycle gear equals 9, yes. And then bicycle 2 cadence, 100. Bicycle 2 speed, 70. Bicycle 2 gear, 21. Right? So we get to do a lot of cool stuff. And you can have you can have a ridiculous amount of these. Okay? You can just have many objects of the class that you can manipulate. Now this is going to be very handy when it comes to creating games, including like monsters, enemies, NPCs, items. So you can just create an object of something and have it have its own values. Right? So we could create an object called item, which has a name, it has a value, it has like an image file or something, and then we assign that when we create the object. Isn't that crazy? Crazy stuff. Okay. So now let's talk about inheritance. So let's say we want to create, or actually before we even talk about that, let's talk about using methods. Okay. So let's get rid of this and let's get rid of bicycle 2. And now what we can do is, because we have some methods that we created that set the value of these to something else, what we can do is we can call upon our object, and it has access to any of the methods within our class. Okay? So we can actually say bicycle.setCadence, which is calling the method we created, bicycle.setSpeed, and bicycle.setGear, because it's calling these methods, right? Set cadence, set speed, set gear. And what it's going to do is you'll see that it'll print out first 7, 28, and 9, and then it'll change them to 4 and print that out. Or 462 because 462. Does that make sense? It's really neat. You can do a lot of cool stuff with objects, and that's why this is an object-oriented programming language, and it's really cool. So now let's talk about inheritance. So let's say we wanted to have bicycle, but have more things, and say we want to create like a mountain bike, okay? So what we can do is instead of just using bicycle, okay, and creating another constructor and doing all this other stuff, um, and we want to completely differentiate it so we don't have to override. Um, but we also need to have it have the same thing. So what does a mountain bike have? Well, a mountain bike will have the same. It'll have a cadence. It'll have a speed. It'll have a gear. But then maybe it has its own things. Maybe it has like tires, or maybe it has like a seat height, or maybe it has, like a bunch of other things that a normal bicycle wouldn't have, but that a mountain bike would have. So what we can do is we can actually create a new class called mountain bike, and instead of writing all of this again, you just say mountain bike extends bicycle, and if I get rid of this, um, you'll see that it'll not like that, I think. Why doesn't it like that? So we'll say mountain bike extends bicycle and save. Oh, for some reason it likes that. I don't know why. Oh, it's because we created that second overridden thing. Okay, so now we go over here and it doesn't like it. The reason is because it needs us to have the constructor. So if I go back and I'll just paste this back in. So this is just the exact same constructor as over here in bicycle. This is just this. And what it's doing is it's saying, um, we have our start cadence, start speed, start gear, and I've added start height, right? Or seat height, yeah. I've created variable seat height and I've added start height. And then all super does is it assigns those values. So it assigns start cadence to be the same as here. So when we say start cadence, it'll assign it to cadence. And when we say start speed, it'll assign it to start speed, which assigns it to speed, and so on and so forth. And then we assign our own value, the one we made, anything we've added, seat height to start height. And we created our own method called seat height. Now here's what's cool about inheritance. Okay, so we extend bicycle, that gives us inheritance. Here's what's cool about that. So let's create an object of mountain bike. So we're going to call it mbike equals new mountain bike, and we're going to assign the values, because remember we have seat, start height, start cadence, start speed, start gear. So let's assign those values. In this case, I've written 2, 5, 12, 28. Okay? And it doesn't like that because it wants us to do stuff. Why doesn't it like this? There we go. I just had to save. um, and then we come down here and let's access those. So here's what's neat. Because we have inheritance, because mountain bike inherits bicycle, we can access anything from bicycle as well. Not anything, as long as it's not private. We can access it from mountain bike. So we created a mountain bike object, and let's print that out. So we'll do start seat height, which we know will work because it's part of the constructor of mountain bike. And then we have mountain bike.cadence. Now cadence is inside a bicycle. It's not inside a mountain bike. It's here. So let's see if all of this works. Okay, let's check this out. See that? Seat height, cadence, speed, gear. And it's not using the values that we set with bicycle. It's using the values that we set here. And then we can run the methods. We can run the methods from bicycle with mountain bike because mountain bike is a subclass of bicycle and it inherits everything within bicycle. So if we run this, 46210. Okay, and obviously the 10 comes from here. So that's inheritance, that's classes, and we talked about objects and constructors. So hopefully that all makes sense. We're going to be doing it a lot throughout our videos, so don't worry if it doesn't make sense now. You'll see it in better use later. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my blog and my Twitter. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I hope you have a good day.